Hello everybody, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Everett.
And today we're going to review the 2017 Toyota 4Runner. Now the 4Runner has a starting price of around $34,000 and can go all the way up to around $42,000 with the TRD Pro or limited trim levels. Now no matter which one you choose, you'll end up with a 4-liter V6 which produces 270 horsepower at 5,600 RPMs and 278 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPMs. And that is all going through a 5-speed automatic transmission. So obviously, not a ton of power for such a large vehicle that weighs around 4,750 pounds. Plus, the 5-speed is very dated. But it's not all doom and gloom for this vehicle. So let's go on and take it on the road, and we'll talk more about it there. So, the Toyota 4Runner is actually a pretty cool vehicle. It's one of the few left that actually employs the body-on-frame construction, right? So it gives it that really rigid off-road capability, and that's obviously what a 4Runner is really known for, is that off-road, legendary off-road capability, and that's it's pretty neat. So, what are your impressions on the 4Runner?
Well, I think Toyota did a really good job designing the off-road capabilities of the vehicle. Unlike your typical SUV, it might not have all the comforts, but they really did a good job designing a off-road rugged machine that can handle like a wide range of conditions.
Yeah, and I think it's also cool too. So they added a optional third row. So now you can actually haul 7 people in it when properly equipped. Obviously, it's not as spacious as like a full-blown crossover right in the back seat. But as far as off-road capabilities go, for a vehicle that can actually carry this many people, I mean, there's really nothing else like it out there. So if you want, if you do a lot of off-roading and you want to have some fun with the family or your friends and have a lot of space, then that's definitely an option. So I thought there was quite a bit of space in the trunk and the back. What did you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Going off the off-roading kind of subject, if you're taking it off-road or going on some sort of like trip out there where you need some supplies and stuff, there's definitely ample cargo space in the back, which definitely helps to
if you're like camping and you need some more space.
Exactly.
There's that cool tray which pulls out, which could be used for if you want to like stick some extra stuff on there, or and then additionally there's a full outlet, right? So it can actually do, it's a 120 volt 400 watt outlet with 3 prongs, so you can run quite a bit off of that.
Definitely, like if you ever needed to like do anything on the road, like fix something, or like if you wanted to have like a grill on the back there, that rack would be perfect to just set a grill right on the tray, and then you have the power access there, and then a lot of space in the back as well.
Yeah, I think we need like a chainsaw, electric chainsaw, so when we're out in the Everglades, we can just like turn that thing on and like chop through everything and just keep going.
Yeah.
Now, for over 3 decades, the 4Runner has been a true can do anything SUV, and that really speaks to, I believe, the buyer base of this thing as well. It's an explorer car. People are out there on the road exploring, and the styling really hasn't changed much over those 3 decades. It still employs a lot of that boxy off-road look. So what do you think of the styling?
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of like what you're saying, how they've continued to incorporate the boxy kind of like off-road rugged looking body style into the 4Runner, and that shows up in the interior as well. You have like a lot of more square angles, which provide like a lot of room, but also just kind of accentuate the outward exterior. Yeah,
absolutely. And then it's sort of funny, when I first jumped in this thing, I looked at these dials here for the air and HVAC controls. They're pretty funny. They're like giant, and they even have like rubber grips on them. Like, we're gonna need that, but anyway, sort of funny styling accent. So that's good. Now talking again more about off-roading, we have this system here, which, as you can see, it's the center control system for all the off-road stuff, and it's the available part-time 4-wheel drive system uses active traction control, which is called A-Track, and basically that helps us with it gives us a 2-speed transfer case, and it also has a selectable low range, so we can distribute driving force to really any one wheel in contact with the ground, right? So if we're in like a big muddy pit and we're trying to get out of that, and we have the 3 wheels up on the ground as we're coming out of that approach angle, that really helps aid us to get more traction on the ground, right there, which is cool. So there's also a hill start ascent control, and that provides additional control, right, when accelerating from a stop on a steep incline by helping to hold the vehicle stationary. So that's cool. So there's a ton of these features, right? And you can even set the speed. There's a low, medium, high speed, and that actually you just let the car do all the work for you, which is pretty crazy, honestly. So, and then there's another gear selector up here, or range selector for the type of off-roading that you'll be doing, right? And it can adjust the four-wheel drive system accordingly to handle the appropriate conditions. So, yeah.
Definitely.
So tons of, a lot of people complain about this car not having enough power. It is, again, the engine, it's a little lethargic, especially on the freeway from 50 to 70, and the 5-speed's really outdated. But again, for the buyer base of this car, then it doesn't really matter as much. It's just really more about the off-roading experience and how it can do there.
Definitely. And with all the the traction option controls, that's just gonna further contribute to that off-roading experience. Allowing you to really dial in your traction for what kind of environment you're in.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they also have, of course, the TRD off-road model, which is the full-blown, giant, enormous tires. Well, this thing does have giant ripper on it. I mean, the TRD off-road even has more aggressive tires, which is pretty crazy.
Okay.
But no matter really which model you choose, they're all really well equipped to handle off-road. So that's good. You don't really have to change anything up. They're all really good off-road. So now, speaking more to the design and the tech on the interior, I again briefly touched on the knobs, but what are your thoughts, additionally on the interior design and the tech features?
Well, I do think that they did a good job styling it. Really, I don't think that they, kind of like we've been saying, have incorporated elements that would you'd find in a traditional SUV with maybe more features or comforting options. But I do think they did a good job designing it so that it really fits the style of the vehicle. Like you were touching on the big knobs and like the big dials. Just very simply laid out, just kind of all the necessities. Yeah,
exactly. And speaking about that too, necessities, right? So first off, the media system. It's a tiny screen. It's probably like probably about 6 inches screen. It's low resolution. It's not terribly clear, but the upside to that is you operate with these buttons on the side, and then when you press the screen, it is very responsive, right? So it doesn't look that great, but at the end of the day, it gets the job done for what for the purpose of navigation, right? And it works great. I mean, really, you press the button, instant response. I'd rather have a system that works really well and flawlessly, that doesn't look super fantastic, than have a system that looks really cool and is really obnoxious to use or hard to control, right? So at least there's that. And I feel that the people who are buying this car, that's definitely something that's going to be important to them. There's also some apps as well. So you press the apps button, and you can look at things like weather is probably the coolest one in there, and you can search weather on your route or weather where you currently are over the next 3 days. So again, it works really well, really quick to respond. So that's that's important, and that's kind of a Toyota thing, like this, making something really good and really reliable. It's not necessarily always going to be cutting edge, but it's going to work really well. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
So Kyle, what are your overall driving impressions?
Yeah, I think this car drives a lot like it looks, right? So you have this huge thing on, box on wheels essentially, and with its very flexible body on frame construction, really makes it have a lot of body roll. And well, that's great for when you're off the beaten path. It's not so fantastic when you're driving in the urban jungle where everything is cement. Creates a ton of body roll. It's really quite funny, honestly. Even we're about to take a turn here at about 15 miles an hour curve, and you can even just feel the body rolling to the side. You can really feel that.
Definitely.
And not to mention too, when you're accelerating and braking, you can feel the whole car pitching. Whether you're going forward or back, obviously, and it just kind of dives forward. As you hit the brakes, you can just really feel that dives.
Oh yeah.
And again, that's because of the soft suspension and the shocks, which again are designed to go off road. So from an off-roading perspective, fantastic. Couldn't really get anything better. From an on-the-road perspective, it isn't horrible, but it's definitely something that you have to sacrifice, right? So if you're looking again for something that is going to be really great on the cement, this is not it. But if you do some of that off-roading, it's not terrible to be driving. It also, on the upside, if there's a lot of potholes, this thing just really rolls right over and bounces. There's a lot of bouncing, which is kind of fun. Honestly, like for a young guy, for like us, it's kind of like a fun, cool car.
Yeah.
When you're driving around it. Powering the thing is a 4-liter 6-cylinder. Right, and it's a little lethargic, as I mentioned earlier, right? It's only getting us 270 horsepower at 5,600 RPMs and 278 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPMs. So it's not a lot considering this thing weighs 4,750 pounds. I think you can even kind of tell, like, if I step on it, like it's just not a ton there that really gets us up and moving. Not to mention, the fuel economy is pretty poor as well. Now, this could all be really improved a lot if we, change out the transmission. Right now, we just have a 5-speed. I swear it's the only 5-speed automatic left on the market today. So if we add, add a little more power, bump it up, 30, 40 horsepower, and same with torque, add a 6 or 7-speed in there, then we'd, be much better for, the city driving too. Not so much, it doesn't matter so much, off-road, again, because you're just, using those low ranges on the RPM spectrum just to get that power. It's not a problem. But, if we're accelerating, from 0 to 40, you can feel it. But again, for people who want this kind of a car, that's just how it is. And this is a great selling vehicle. People come back time after time, buy another one. They're extremely reliable, and frankly, again, I feel like it's cool. There's really not a lot out there like this,
Yeah, definitely.
Like Jeep is cool too. This is kind of, in that same category. But, if I'm 20, 25 years old, and I want to buy something that's different, this is very different. I feel like, it's pretty cool as well and unique. So. So I want to, just get from you, what are your final overall thoughts on the 2017 4Runner?
Well, Kyle, I just really think it's a great off-road vehicle.
Yep.
With a boxy styling frame, just the kind of necessities on the interior.
Yep.
The boxy styling in here as well.
Right.
Lots of cargo space.
Yep.
9.6 inches of ground clearance. Just like really adding to that off-road experience.
Yes.
As an SUV, I think it leaves some to be desired as far as features on the interior.
Right.
But again, like you're saying, the market of people, looking for this type of vehicle, that's not necessarily what they're looking for.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No. And I'd say that's very true. Well, it does have some tech options and features. It's very user-friendly and it works well, but it's definitely nothing fancy. There's no laser-guided cruise control, there's no forward collision warning, no blind spot detection. So there's a ton of features that are pretty basic in this day and age that it doesn't have. But again, it's not really a deal breaker for people in this segment where there are basically 2 or 3 cars that compete with this. Not to mention that this is really the only one that actually has seating for 7 people, which is pretty cool. So anyway, that's all we have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this review of the 2017 Toyota 4Runner. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Everett.
Thanks for watching.